annual get-togethers represent great opportunities for our students to meet with academics, administrators, and fellow students from around the world, to hear about the latest thinking and practices concerning e-learning and their particular line of study, and to learn of our exciting news. The London conference this year has an additional attraction. 3 students will be sharing with us later today their personal experiences of studying through Unica. But before that, we will have the chance to share the thoughts, professional expertise, and innovative ideas of our guest speakers. After a delicious lunch, which we will enjoy in the drawing room of this beautiful hotel, we will have an exciting panel discussion on the future of education, with a question and answer session to follow. Unicaf has already awarded $35 million worth of scholarships and has changed more than 11,000 lives. You are now part of a worldwide community with students from 156 countries. Indeed, we are in the business of changing people's lives through education. Greek historian and writer Plutarch has said, «Το μυαλό δεν είναι δοχείο που πρέπει να γεμίσει, αλλά μια φωτιά που πρέπει να ανάψει», which freely translated into English means, the mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be ignited. We at Unicaf have had the honor and joy of seeing our students' lives take an upturn, thanks to internationally recognized degrees they obtain with the aid of the generous Unicaf scholarship program. By improving one person's career and life prospects through the provision of quality online education, we see the lives of their families also improve. Good results multiply, and so does the credence and reputation of Unicaf in Africa and around the world. Together with our reputable partner universities, we offer a wide range of bachelor, master's, and doctorate degree programs. Unicaf's easy-to-use virtual learning environment facilitates the delivery of study material, allows students to review e-books, send completed assignments back to tutors for assessment, and even take examinations. Through the state-of-the-art digital platform, our students can interact with their tutors and fellow students who may live in different parts of the world to exchange views and ideas and to network with one another. And most importantly, our students can remain at home, continue to care for their families, and keep their jobs and income while they study. The Unicaf scholarships, coupled with the earn-as-you-learn approach of Unicaf's online delivery, make our students' decision to study for the degree of their choice simple and easy. And once they commence their studies, they can see the benefits almost immediately. The improved methods they apply in executing their daily duties save them time and energy. Their newly acquired knowledge inspires them to think outside the box and seek more creative solutions. Their employers and colleagues notice an increase in their productivity, and the students themselves feel happier and more satisfied in their jobs, while they start dreaming of advancing in their career, securing a managerial position, or even starting a business of their own. We have countless testimonials to this effect. It is no surprise to us that more than 90% of our students are currently in employment. We are in the business of changing lives. Through quality education, online delivery, and internationally recognized degree programs from reputable partner universities. Through the most generous scholarship program available today. Through select locations where we are setting up new campuses for Unicaf University and new learning or information centers for Unicaf. Through an ever-growing number of scholars and students, we're building an extensive network of alumni for the future. Through blended learning, a combination of online delivery and face-to-face tuition offered in many of our Unicaf University campuses. Through a vibrant social media community connecting students and friends of Unicaf. Through inspirational meetings such as this here in the UK capital. For all these reasons, dear guests, dear students, Unicaf is a life-changing opportunity. Thank you all for your attention, and may I wish you all a most interesting and informative session today. So, let's get down to business with our first speaker for today, Dr. Kevin Andrews, Vice Chancellor of Unicaf University. Dr. Andrews has trained as an academic at the universities of Sheffield and Bradford, and has spent many years as a researcher at Bournemouth University in his native United Kingdom. He helped develop the science of forensic archaeology as a new discipline, which led him to Cyprus on a scientific mission in 2005. He now calls Cyprus home. He joined our organization in 2009 and played a major role in helping to establish Unica and Unicaf University. In his presentation this morning, Dr. Andrews will speak about the past, present, and future of Unicaf University as an emerging game changer in transnational, accessible higher education. Dr. Andrews, the floor is yours.
I welcome you all to what I trust will be a worthwhile experience. It is a great pleasure to be here, a positive indicator that we're here of the success of Unicaf and of Unicaf University in a relatively short period of time. This is the first of a series of events that will allow us to meet and discuss the great benefits and the challenges of learning online. In my presentation this morning, I will reflect on where we've come from, where we are now, and where we hope we'll be in the future. I'm going to start with a sweeping generalisation. These are important to give us a target for critical questions later on, and I welcome very much being challenged on this. The generalisation I want to make is this, that an academic life led primarily online is inevitable. But it can also be a somewhat alienating and lonely experience. Technology enables us to reach out and connect with each other, but it also has a very real social impact. Technology can connect us, but it can also isolate us, sometimes without us really noticing. People engrossed in the digital world are in danger of losing meaningful, rich relationships and connections with each other. I spend a lot of time online. I spend a lot of time video conferencing on Skype. I interact through email. But through this, we're in danger of losing the human touch, which is why meetings like this one, I think, are so vitally important. I hope we'll use the social time factored into today's sessions to switch off our mobiles and our tablets, forget about the technology for a while, and actually make real human connections with each other and get to meet each other. Through this presentation that I'm giving this morning, I want you to keep that theme of the dual opportunity and challenge that online learning can bring in mind, and also the belief that I hold that we've already undergone what Brian Pfaffenberger, an anthropologist and historian of technology, called a socially determined paradigm shift, borrowing as he did from Thomas Kuhn's theory of the nature of scientific revolutions. The paradigm shift, I think, has been in the way in which we communicate with each other and the way in which we interact. And this has permeated almost everything that we do, at least in the world's developed economies. From shopping online, to socialising and dating online, banking online, voting online, and yes, teaching and learning online. The massification of university education has been made possible by this paradigm shift. And the realisation that campus-based education for the masses and not for the elite few is not affordable or scalable in traditional brick-and-mortar institutions. The idea that a revolutionary shift of paradigm happens in a complex mix of social, technological and political factors fits perfectly, in my view, with the history of Unicaf and the development of Unicaf University. Nevertheless, Unicaf has used that World Wide Web and the latest technologies that are available in order to bring higher education and make it accessible to a wide population. Let's turn to the history of Unicaf and Unicaf University. They're part of an educational group that consists of all the entities that you can see on this slide, which together form one of the largest higher education institutions in Europe. The idea of online learning and increasing accessibility for international students, returning to my theme of the social and political milieu that makes things happen, started through the University of Nicosia, known colloquially in Cyprus as UNIC, the largest university in Cyprus, wanting to reach out and educate students from nearby Africa and Asia. But we were frustrated in that attempt by the same visa restrictions that have prevented people from coming here today. So reaching out to provide transnational education through distance mobile learning was a solution, and it has been a very effective one. In a little over 5 years, you can see on this slide, Unicaf has become a leading online platform, growing from only 15 students in 2012 when we started to over 11,000 students today. We have support infrastructures in 9 countries, we employ over 500 people, and we deliver in excess of 35 academic programs. Unicaf targets the underserved regions of the world where typically candidates struggle locally to find routes into higher education. Let me use Africa as an example, where the demography and the critical lack of traditional university campuses has created a crisis in capacity. To put this into some perspective, for African nations to cope with the growing need for university places, the continent's governments would need to build 10 universities a week, each with room for 10,000 students every week for the next 12 years. And this is clearly an impossible task. The only workable solution, to our mind, is to encourage a diversity of modes of provision that involve state and private partnerships and where the foundations of teaching and learning are conducted online, but supported locally with regard to the logistics of access to the internet and the maintenance of power supplies. That's why the Unicaf approach involves the establishment of a physical presence, the building of call centres, support centres and micro-campuses equipped with ICT facilities and backup generators to keep the data flowing and the connections there between students and instructors. This model has been successful in attracting candidates from all over the globe. We currently have a student body comprised of representatives of 156 countries, and we have representatives today with us, as Ray was already mentioned, from 35 of those. And we know that many more who wish to be here today were unable to join us owing to visa refusals. As the new generation of students engage with higher education, they do so with a set of expectations and within their own comfort zone, born by their upbringing and their education. Most today are familiar with IT technologies and were raised in an era of social e-media, for example. I joke with my wife that our great-grandchildren won't have fingers anymore, they'll just have 2 great big thumbs, you know. An emerging trend in higher education assessment is to migrate assessments through to these social media platforms that students are familiar with. Also, to make assessments available through specialist services, or at least a specialist division of the provider. The sector is also exploring the use of learner analytics to create a personalised learner experience, to augment online learning with real face-to-face experiences at workshops or in weekend getaways, and blend class time on campus or at a centre with online learning can be of enormous benefit. And this is increasingly happening across the sector. And the same reasons underpin the idea of supported open learning, where candidates have access to help and advice at a centre but may not necessarily attend scheduled academic sessions. Another vital trend is that of increasing flexibility and mobility of delivery and access routes, whereby students can start an award locally with one provider but finish with another through an agreed, approved prior learning route onto so-called top-up programmes, where the final part of the award is taken with another awarding body. This is one of Unicaf University's aims, to make such arrangements, especially at the undergraduate level, where experience has shown us that candidates need more support locally, but as they mature and grow in their confidence, they are able to finish their award using online learning with one of our partner universities. Unicaf's contributions to these trends are being realised now and in the future through achievement of our own university status and our own degree awarding powers, the continuing development of a network of facilities to provide flexible delivery, and continuation of partnership work to increase access and student opportunities through a broader portfolio, and also to increase mobility and opportunities for research. Unicaf have invested heavily in this model that I've just described and are investigating the trends in higher education and online learning in a spirit of continual, ongoing enhancement. We have confidence in this model, confidence shown by our achievements to date and those that we've set ourselves for the future, and also reflected in the feedback from our students, where an overwhelming majority of those that we've surveyed have agreed that their experiences helped them within their career in obtaining a job, but also in gaining better positions within their organisations. I'm going to end by wishing you all a very productive day, and I hope that you are able to use today, get the most out of today, and enjoy making those connections that I mentioned right at the beginning. Thank you very much.
I thought this was a really good opportunity, as we've been partners now with Unicaf for 3 years, to just reflect on our work together and to see where we've come from, where we're at now, and where we will be going to in the future. In terms of my presentation, these are the areas that I'm going to cover. So look at our experience as a university of partnership working. This is not new to us. To look at how we work in partnership with Unicaf and why USW and Unicaf. Why did we decide to go into partnership together? What are the key opportunities for us? And what are some of the key challenges? And where do we go next? So that's what I'm hoping to cover in my short presentation. So we have significant experience of partnership working. It's in what I would describe as our DNA. It's something that we do as a university. It's very important to us, and indeed most of our provision. We're a large university with around 30,000 students. Most of our provision is done in partnership, and that partnership varies. So it could be an educational partnership, which would include other international universities, further education colleges in the UK, schools and private providers, to name but a few. But we're also very interested in other types of partnership. So we will work with business and with industry to include looking at our research, to look at placements for students, to look at staff exchanges, and to look at, for example, internships. And this would include some of the largest employers in the UK. Most of you, I'm sure, will have heard of the National Health Service. We have a large partnership with the NHS, but we also partner, for example, with Tata Steel, who are a very large multinational company. But we also partner with lots of small and medium enterprises, local companies, local industry that works in and around the South Wales area. Similarly, we would also have partnerships with some charities. Some of these would be small and local, but for example, Marie Curie is one of our big partners. And we also, because we're in Wales and it's a small and quite political country, have a number of political partnerships. Working in Wales is very different to working in England, particularly for higher education institutions. So we see the Welsh Government as particular partners in our educational endeavour. If I move to looking at our educational partnerships, I think part of this is important, particularly for students here. Is this something that we've got any experience of? Do we know how to work in partnership? Well, we currently have on our books 51 educational partnerships. That's a lot of partners. 10 of those are for fully off-site delivery, so the students do not come to the University of South Wales. They will be studying elsewhere, including students such as yourselves studying online. And 41 of those partnerships are there for other types of collaboration. So those would be particularly looking at articulation agreements. This is where students study in their own country and then might transfer to the University of South Wales for part of their programme, often what Kevin referred to as the top-up. So you would do 2 or 3 years in your own country and then come to the University of South Wales for your last year. We run our models of partnership in a variety of ways, and I'll talk a bit more about that, but we look at these as franchises, and they might be joint franchises where the university will do a significant part of the work, or they might be full franchises where the partner does the majority of the work. At the moment, we only run full franchises in the UK. And where do we have our partnerships? Well, all over the world. That's just a few examples. And as you can see, of course, and in bold and capital letters there, Cyprus, because that's what we're here to talk about today, our partnership with Unicaf. We really value our international partners, and we manage them in a variety of ways. So we value the fact that many of our international partners bring students to us on campus. It's particularly important for the diversity of our community, and also to making sure that we help our students who are local to Wales become better global citizens. But as you've heard from Kevin this morning, actually increasingly technology is how we are communicating, and we are very keen that those values of global citizenship and diversity are replicated as much online as they are on campus. That's really important to us. So just to reassure some of you sitting in the room, how do we actually go around setting up an international partnership? How does it work? Well, practically, and I hope reassuringly, initially there would be a significant exchange of views, leading towards a memoranda of understanding, and ultimately towards a contract. And both partners would be looking to do legal, financial and academic due diligence. So do the partners and do we as a university, are we real? Do we exist? Are we financially stable? Do we have the quality that's important to put a partnership together? What we want is for you, particularly as students, to know that the partners you are studying through have a pedigree that you can be really confident about. And that is very important, particularly when you're studying online and you don't often come to the university. But this is where it becomes much more interesting for me, and this is about the strategic approach to our partnership. We, and I know Unicaf would say the same, don't want to be partners with just anybody. It's really important for us that our mission and our vision and the strategy of, for me, the University of South Wales, has at least some alignment with the mission, the vision and the strategy for, in this case, Unicaf. So we need to find partners with similar values. And I found it really reassuring listening to Kevin's talk this morning when he talked about why they've gone into online learning, why Unicaf is so interested in the benefits of online learning. And for us, it's the same values that we have too. We're really interested in making sure that we have social values, economic values, and values of education and learning that are similar, because otherwise a partnership won't work if those values aren't the same. There also needs, obviously, to be some mutual benefit. And the biggest thing for me is that we have to have a transparent and collaborative approach with trust and mutual respect. That doesn't mean that we don't have robust discussions about the future of the partnership. It doesn't mean we don't have robust discussions about education, philosophically, pedagogically, but it does mean that we are transparent in the way we work, and it means that you, as students in particular, know that there is a good relationship between the two institutions, which is really important. What's also important is the leadership. You've heard from Kevin, you're hearing from myself, you'll hear from other people today. The leadership in both partners needs to be across the whole partnership. It needs to be across the institution. So for us at the University of South Wales, one of the things that's really good about this partnership is that it isn't just vested in one part of our institution. Increasingly, it's growing across the whole institution, and that's a benefit to us as an institution as well as to our students. But it also needs to be embedded across our faculty and our professional service areas. As I say, we're a large university, and making sure that this is known across the university and everybody's on board with the partnership is critical. So why did we go into partnership with Unicaf? Well, we do have similar values in relation to our social and economic impact, in relation to widening the participation so that more and more students can actually access the learning, and in relation to global citizenship. Language is clearly important. We all teach and learn in English as a medium. I don't speak Greek, although my colleagues from Cyprus speak very good English. Maybe I need to learn some Greek, but it is important that we have some language in terms of our mother tongue that works for us. But it's also important that we speak a similar language in relation to learning and teaching and business and how we work. We benefit enormously as the University of South Wales from the online expertise that Unicaf bring. And I hope that Unicaf equally benefit from our UK quality brand, which is internationally known. As I said, there has to be mutual benefit both for the students and for both the partners. And we have good respect and trust between our senior colleagues. We both need to bring something unique to the table. There's no point in having a partnership if you can do it all yourself anyway. And we believe that when we put this partnership together, we brought together two entities that will work to provide the best learning online and the best opportunities for you as students going forward. So we're 3 years into our partnership. The first year was all about development, and years 2 and 3 have been about continuing development, but also about recruiting and learning and teaching of students. So what have the key opportunities been so far, and how have we managed some of them? Well, clearly the student numbers. You saw the numbers that Kevin's put up. You've seen the ambition of Unicaf as to how big it wants to be, and you've seen where it's at so far. And we're really pleased that some of those numbers are with us at the University of South Wales, and we believe we are having a good impact from a learning and teaching perspective as we see more and more students engaging with the programmes. We also believe there's been a real opportunity for the two institutions to influence each other. The impact of the partnership on how we work as the University of South Wales and how Unicaf works has meant that we've changed things. We are a typical UK large higher education institution that predominantly has in the past, as many of our universities do, worked predominantly for undergraduate students. We have a postgraduate provision, as you would expect, and a research provision, but the vast majority of our students are undergraduate, they're full-time, they come for 3 years, and therefore UK universities, and indeed many universities around the world, are set up and predicated on that approach. Doing something like this online really challenges our systems, our processes, and boy, have we had some challenges. But actually it's good for us to be challenged. Similarly, I think that the way in which the University of South Wales works, we have challenged some of the way in which Unicaf works. And again, they've been good challenges, but both of us would say that we are benefiting from the learning from each institution. That's really important for us. Our programme developments, we currently have 4. We've got a 5th one coming online this autumn. I have no doubt there'll be more in the pipeline. Our pipeline seems to grow as we develop our partnership, which is really good. There will be more and more opportunities coming over the next few years, I have no doubt. And finally, we need to continue to build our relationship across the partnership. We believe that one of the things we've done well has been to develop the very senior relationships across the partnership, and one of the things we probably haven't done as well as we could have done was to develop the relationships across the whole piece, which we're now doing more to rectify. I think that's been really important learning for us, but we have got good relationships building across our partnership. So what are our challenges? Well, understanding, time and effort, huge effort. Many of us in this room can testify to the many hours of effort that it has taken us to get this far. And I have no doubt there are going to be many more hours to come. The development is a challenge. We work in different ways as two institutions. We're a typical lumbering UK higher education, and we're working with partners who are much more commercial in the way in which they work. And the challenge around development has been pace, and the dissonance between the way in which one institution wants to work more quickly and the other, by nature, works more slowly. We're having to find a happy medium around pace. Embedding things into our faculties is also challenging. I think when you develop a partnership that starts at the top of the institution, there are some real advantages to that, but there are some real disadvantages because you don't have the one-to-one relationship that started with one academic in one discipline with another academic in the same discipline and building. That tends to take more time. It's not something that we want to do in terms of time, but actually you've got to manage both, and we need to embed more into our faculties to make that happen. And I've already referenced the fact that we work differently. There's nothing wrong with working differently, but we have to work out how we then work collectively together. So our business models are different. Our approach to quality assurance can be different. Our breadth of business is different. Our systems and processes are different. None of those are insurmountable, but they are key challenges to us, and they're things that we continue to work on to make sure that the experience of the students is the best that it can be. And finally, as I've already said, we continue to work on building trust and relationships. Now on my next slide, and before I click to it, I'm going to show a video. But one of the things that I want to just finish with is talking about hearing from students. It's great today to see so many students here. And as I say, I've already enjoyed some of the conversations. You've already challenged us with some of the learning and the way in which it's working for you. I'm pleased that most of your feedback is really positive, but you've also given already some suggestions for improvement. One of the other things that's really important is, are we real? One of the things that we get quite a lot of comments on, particularly through email, is prospective students emailing saying, is this real? Is it a scam? Do you really exist? Some of you are smiling. Maybe you were some of those students who actually emailed to say, are we real? And if you are, that's fine. But what I would really like to do is ask you to get the message out that we are real, we exist. You're all laughing, so I appreciate this is clearly has been a real problem. But we are real and we do exist. So I'm just going to show you a video. It includes 1 or 2 students talking about their experience with Unicaf. If any of you are in the audience, please do come and say hello afterwards, and I apologise now if you find yourself up on the screen.
At the University of South Wales, giving equal access to higher education has always been at the heart of what we do. Now USW is working in partnership with Unicaf to make first-class higher education available for the first time to people living in some of the world's poorest communities. Unicaf is one of the world's most innovative private universities with huge experience in providing quality learning provision online. Our newly formed partnership uses the power of technology to bring quality higher education courses to people in the developing world in their own communities.
Hi, my name is Shani from Nigeria. Utilizing the Unicaf scholarship, I am currently enrolled in the University of South Wales online MBA program. It is a great advantage and a fantastic learning opportunity to be able to earn such a high-quality degree on a timetable that works with my busy schedule of a full-time job and a family.
All a student needs is the talent and the access to the internet. Through the use of innovative teaching technologies, they can complete all of their studies online, wherever they are. These courses enable those students to gain internationally recognised qualifications in subjects where they can have a real input into a developing economy. Of course, access to funding is a real issue. That's why we offer a generous scholarship programme to support students.
I'm Shade and I'm Nigerian. I'm utilising the Unicaf scholarship and I'm currently enrolled at the University of South Wales doing my online MBA. What eased my fears about online education were the easy navigation panels and interactive tools on the learning platform, as well as the support I get from my classmates and my course instructors.
I'm very happy that the University of South Wales offers such an option, because such opportunities are not readily available in my country, and I could never have afforded to live in the UK while studying towards such a degree. I find online learning very convenient, since I'm able to do my assignments anywhere, as long as there's internet access, even using my mobile phone.
This is a really rich learning experience. The courses are well planned out, and the course instructors are so responsible and supportive in replying to emails.
This is an innovative way of bringing learning to students in the world's poorest areas. The quality of the course is really essential. All assignments are set by the USW staff and approved by the external examiners. The course materials are based on the on-campus information and adapted for online learning.
At the end of the programme, successful students graduate from the University of South Wales and have the chance to attend an on-campus graduation ceremony. This partnership brings good quality higher education courses to the developing world, which will equip people with the skills needed to make a real difference in their own community.
So we are real and we do exist. So what next? It's really critical for us that we continue to hear more and more from you, our students, and we strengthen the student voice, not only on days like this, which are really important opportunities face-to-face, but also through the online medium. How do we hear more from you about what's working well, what we need to improve? So finding new ways to hear from our students. We do it well on campus because the students are there all the time. I think we need to do it even better for you, our online students. So please do use today to talk to us. We are also looking between us as partners at how we develop and fund a research and scholarly activity programme. It's not just about providing learning online, but we need to research the learning online to make sure that, again, we provide everything to the highest quality and we learn the lessons from the work that we're doing to date. We want to start publishing some of our work. There's been an awful lot of conference presentations and we now need to get stuff out into the public domain as good academics, and we need to continue to build our good working relationships and trust at all levels of the organisation. We will have our first graduating students from USW Unicaf partnership this autumn, which is really exciting. Some of those students, I think, are planning to come to our graduation ceremonies in Wales. For you, as students here, when you get to the point of graduating, you are very welcome to come to one of our graduation ceremonies. If you're studying with us, we would love to see you there. We also recognise that you can't all make it, and we will make alternative arrangements to make sure you get your certificates. And we're also beginning to dialogue about where do we go beyond online. Kevin referenced the blended opportunities. That's something that we're serious about progressing, and who knows where we'll go beyond that. So I'll leave you with a picture of our main campus in Wales. Somebody asked me this morning if I'd flown here from Wales to get here. It's only 2 hours by train. It really isn't very far from London. And of course, we're on the doorstep of Cardiff, which is the capital city of Wales. So do come and visit us, and thank you for listening.
I'm going to talk about higher education in Africa. Is it a tool for national and Africa's development? That's my thesis. To begin with, I want to share with you that knowledge is doubling ever so often now. The amount of knowledge in the world is doubling very quickly. I mean, at the speed of light. It used to double every 100 years. The total amount of knowledge in every field would double itself. But however, with internet or information communication technologies, knowledge is doubling itself in the world very often. It is traveling faster than ever before because events taking place, you name at the end of the world, if there is one, is instantly being relayed to us as the events are taking place. And this is why the saying is so true more than ever before, that the world is truly a global village. And if it is, then how can we use the knowledge of the positive events happening place so far away for mutual good, for greater good of all of us? The challenge, of course, is if knowledge is doubling itself so often, almost every 10 years or less, how do we keep up with this knowledge? How do we continuously ensure that the knowledge which is being manufactured becomes part of us as individuals, as countries, as continents? Because if we don't, we cannot compete on a global scale. I always tell my students, because of this enormous developments taking place, you need to do three things. Number one, if you're to keep up with this knowledge, acquiring that knowledge, cut down on sleep. Don't sleep at all. When you want to doze off, your friends are busy acquiring knowledge and you'll be behind. Number two, we thank the organizers, Unicaf. We're eating every second. I'm not used to that. You need to cut down or not eat at all. This vocabulary, I am so hungry, delete it from your vocabulary. It no longer exists. And then thirdly, I always say, for you to catch up with this knowledge, acquisition, the word, oh, I'm so tired, delete it from your vocabulary. I always tell my students like that, and I want to put it to you. Otherwise, you cannot compete. Because that's so, again, the world problems, contemporary world problems, have become more complex, extremely complex. If you don't have the knowledge, which is regenerating itself every so often, you cannot compete. Even the methods of production, extremely sophisticated, and you need an education, you need training to be able to catch up with other countries, to catch up with your other friends who are now in the MBA program. And if you're not, there is no way you're going to compete. So then, humanity as we are, we love adventure. We want to conquer what might have been for many years the end of the world. And education says, there is no end of the world. Who says? And we want to challenge. Through research and studies, we want to challenge and discover what lies out there beyond the frontiers that we know already. So then, my thesis to you, number one, as individuals, as countries, regions, and even at the international level. Believe it. And you must agree with me, we are competing. Even in this room, we are eyeing each other and say, is that one my competitor? Even a small country like Zambia, we are eyeing Cyprus and saying, is that one our competitor? We are eyeing the UK, is that one our competitor? And you cannot sit on your laurels, because the least expectation, a country like Zambia, Namibia, you name what, Ghana, if you sleep, you will see that country, because of knowledge, suddenly surpass you. And then you wake up and you're wondering what really happened. So I want to put it to you as my thesis, that education is a key factor for competitiveness and individual, national, international development. And that access to quality higher education will, that's my thesis, spur national and continent-wide development. Of course, all of us talk about education, development. What really is education? What really is development? Well, for education, it's really two words. From Latin. Does anyone here speak Latin? Anyone? Just as well, because then you might challenge me. Educare means to train, to form, to mold. Educere means to build, to lead, to develop. So then, when you look at education, what is education? It's really the ability to mold a person so that, given any challenge, that person who has been molded will always think of more than one alternative to solve a solution. It's really the upgrading of a person's ability to make the best choice, whether it is for personal development or for national development. A development then is really a multidimensional process. It's a country's ability to provide, for example, livelihood for the majority of its people. Can we say the UK has delivered on its promise to deliver livelihood to a majority of its people, unless we are refugee? Yes, it has. Has Zambia done so? Not quite, but we are on the way, thanks to education by Unicaf. It is really a country's ability to improve the social welfare of the people through the provision of social amenities, health, education, infrastructure, so that we don't have polish our shoes all the time, medical care, you name it. That, when a country, a government is doing that, it's meeting this notion of development. So then, if you want a country to develop, high quality education is a prerequisite. There was a study done in Australia, and it confirmed the thesis that increasing participation in education, high education, the output is increased productivity. As an educated person, you will certainly find you are earning a better wage. And you have a choice as to the jobs that you might want to do. They'll come to you. You don't have to go to them. Many of you know this great giant of a leader, Alan Greenspan. He was chairman of the Federal Reserve Board in America across party lines. He also agreed with me that knowledge and skills are important factors in determining the level of economic development or economic growth in a country. The capability in mathematics, I don't know in your countries, but sadly for mine, our kids are not doing so well in mathematics. I don't know why. I was super in mathematics. Why can't you be super in mathematics as well? And I mean it. Writing and verbal skills, we don't have them. We don't have writing and verbal skills. And if you don't, how then can you develop yourself? Later on, how can you develop your country? Later on, further, how can you develop your continent? You cannot, because these are prerequisites for personal development. They are prerequisites for national development. They are indeed prerequisites for continent-wide development. Education is a very powerful tool for social, political, ethical, cultural, and economic development. In many of our countries where there is no education, you will find there are a lot of ethnic tensions, because these people who are causing the confusion are led maybe by one politician, grumpy politician who has a grudge, and because the people have no level of education, he will rally those people around with nothing at all, maybe a bottle of Coca-Cola or Fanta and food, have them cause ethnic tensions. Whereas an educated nation, education such as we are giving by Unicaf, we're developing skills. We're developing dexterity in people. We're developing and forming characters of people so that we instill in them high values. The values such as you are holding a public office, thou shalt not use that office as a place for personal enrichment, corruption, and so on. Education is truly an instrument for launching nations into the world of science and technology. Without science and technology, forget it, you'll be a producer of raw materials all your life. And you know what that happens, what that does. You are producing commodities, and you're not adding any value because you don't have the technical skills or know-how to turn your raw products into semi or even better still, finished products. Consequently, because of that, at the global market, your country will fetch very little. You will be exploited. And that's why education is truly important, so you can begin to use science and technology to add value to your products, so that tomorrow you're able to export them and earn more money, which you must plow back into education. The level of a nation's education determines the level of its national development. If you ignore education, your level of national development will be zero. And you will find so many people on the streets, young, able-bodied men and women, hanging around, doing nothing, basking in the sun. Education is an equalizer of peoples, of nations, big or small. Once your nation is educated, you are equal to everyone else. Provides self-esteem. I invited a young colleague to come and have lunch, dinner with me in New York, and I gave him the train he should take to come to my house, and I'll pick him up from the train station. So when he arrived, I picked him up. I saw that he wasn't looking very happy. He was a bit disheveled. And I asked him, what happened? He says, well, you see, I was sitting on that, I bought my ticket, sat on the train, and there comes this huge man. And he sits I am 2 seats there, but he's taking 3/4 of the seats, and he put me in a corner. And I said, but what did you do? He said, nothing. And he not only put me in a corner, but he has a huge foot, and he put his foot on top of mine. So I said to him, excuse me, sir, your foot is on top of mine. And the guy says, so? And I said to him, with education, it doesn't matter the size of the person confronting you. It doesn't matter the size of the government confronting you. You are able to stand up and defend for your rights. You will be able to challenge legally. Excuse me, could you please take off your foot, mine? You're infringing on my human rights. Education will teach you that self-confidence so that you can walk, not looking down, but you walk looking up. And that's what you're doing. Getting educated so that your self-esteem is enhanced in the world. World Bank has said higher education allows social cohesion and democratic participation of citizens. Before you vote for somebody, as an educated person, you will inquire, okay, I'm not going to vote on party lines, I'll vote for you as an individual, but what's your program for me? What is your program for me? What are you going to make a difference in this country? Same World Bank. Education is a catalyst for innovations in agriculture. Look, many of our countries in Africa, we have raw materials. We don't turn those materials into finished products. Innovation and creativity in our universities, everywhere we live. Without education, forget it. Our colleagues in Europe, in America, they are busy inventing things. And until I told you, we're busy sleeping. But fortunately, thank God you came, because from here, you will stop sleeping and begin to invent so that you can compete at the national level and indeed at the international level. Also, sustainability. We need to have our development agenda sustainable. We are busy consuming materials, we are busy doing all sorts of things to harm our environment, and we are already there, we have harmed it already. But with education, we will incrementally begin to reverse this state of affairs.
So today I'll be presenting and discussing the way we develop material here at Unicaf and how this material becomes the cornerstone of our learning experiences. You see, what students see usually in terms of material is the end product, the tip of the iceberg. This presentation, however, aims at offering some insights into the processes that are often unseen, the values we embed, the intangibles, and the strategies we execute to develop, as I said, not just learning material, but learning experiences. So
So let me start with something fundamental. A very important person, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the president of Liberia, the first female president in Africa, and the first black female president in the whole world, recently said something that moved me. She said, "My country is in ruins. Wars, conflicts, disasters, crises brought my country to its knees. The morale of my people is low. The society's unity is challenged. Our most important institutions are destroyed. However," she said, "I have one single tool left in my toolbox to rebuild my country: education." The president said that because she most possibly knows that when everything else fails, when everything else is weakened, education is capable of building strong foundations on which we bring everything back together. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf said that because she most possibly knows that education is no longer complementary to a society. We no longer have societies with education systems. Instead, what we have are education being embedded in the social fabric. We have learning societies, we have education societies. Education is at the center of all social relations. Education is what societies are made of. And when everything else is weakened, the social bonds, the economy, we resort to education exactly as Ellen Johnson Sirleaf suggests. A country can thrive on three fundamental principles: healthy finances, a prosperous society, and proper education. These three elements are intertwined. They are not mutually exclusive. They cannot be used selectively. It cannot be one over the other. You cannot have healthy finances without proper education. You cannot have a prosperous society without a healthy economy. You cannot have a healthy economy and a prosperous society without proper, relevant education. At Unicaf, we align our strategy with exactly this reality and this understanding. We don't simply develop correspondence, passive material. We don't just maintain learning platforms. We don't just deliver lectures. Instead, our aim is to develop communities, because we believe that education is indeed the glue that holds all of us together. So it's about the community, and we do that based on 4 pillars. The first is our technology, including our virtual learning environment. The second are our custom-made learning material. The third is engaging formative tasks, and the fourth is systematic feedback. All these are key in helping us develop, maintain, simulate working communities. So let me start with the first pillar, briefly. The virtual learning environment is an updated, ever-changing, ever-improving, state-of-the-art platform, something similar to what companies use these days to execute their daily operations. It's like a wiki, like an intranet, like a project management software. It is as easy to use as Facebook. It includes all the links to ebooks and other resources, supporting resources, modular resources. It has its own built-in messaging system without spam and junk folders, so communication is achieved without obstacles. It is a virtual space enabling students interact, network, co-produce, negotiate, bargain, establish long-term beneficial relationships. And it keeps all stakeholders at one place: lecturers, supporting staff, and of course students. It also works as a database because every piece of information exchanged, feedback, commentary, exchange of ideas remain in the platform, so students can can come back to it over and over again and make use of it. The virtual learning environment is also the house of our learning resources, which is the second pillar. We have gone to, at Unicaf, through different cycles and phases until we decided what is best when it comes to learning material. We also have had our ups and downs, our own experimentation, until we ended up with what we believe is the best specifically for online learning. So other than the usual stuff, ebooks and articles and polls and quizzes, etc., we develop our own topic overviews that are specifically designed to support sense making and storytelling and audiovisual experiences. So our material is changing constantly to incorporate all the latest changes and trends in each field. And often we use terminologies and theories and models that are yet to be published in the latest textbooks. The material itself also includes formative tasks, which is the next pillar. When it comes to formative tasks, we subscribe to the philosophy suggesting the learning by doing. In other words, I'm going to use the words actually of Benjamin Franklin to suggest that tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. Similarly, following this line of thought, our formative tasks on a weekly basis ask students to do things, to formulate policies, to invent their own product solutions, to start up businesses from scratch, to adopt the role of a psychologist, a lawyer, a manager, a public health officer, depending on the program they are registered in. And what the formative tasks ask students is to take universal theories and test them in their own environmental bubble, in their own workplace, in their own cultural context. And this is extremely important because you see each theory is approved or disapproved differently in a supermarket, in a police station, in Ghana, in the UK, in the tourism sector, in the healthcare industry. In this way, our material penetrates students' life. It enters their workplace and asks them to test theories in their own micro-environment, then collect the findings, analyze them, upload them in the virtual learning environment, discuss them with peers, and this is called knowledge sharing. In addition, this is called relevant education, relevant to student aspirations, relevant to industry expectations, and relevant to a nation's welfare, referring back to the professor's presentation earlier. Fourth pillar, while doing that, students receive systematic feedback on all formative and summative contributions. Feedback by their tutors who are committed in offering detailed commentary to all formative tasks and summative essays, as well as student feedback, as many of the tasks are student-led. In other words, while interacting together towards addressing common goals and targets, students offer feedback to each other. And this feedback is an amazing point where knowledge sharing transforms itself into knowledge retention, because this commentary and feedback remains in the system technically forever, so students can turn back to it and make use of it over and over again. And I will say that this is one of the strengths characterizing online learning. With traditional face-to-face learning, you see, if you miss a lecture, maybe because you woke up late, or you missed the bus, or you woke up sick, this lecture is missed forever. With online learning, however, each and every piece of communication, feedback, commentary, idea exchange remains in the system so students can return back to it and make use of it. So overall, these four pillars are about building communities. It's about involvement. It's about students feeling fully included. It's about student voice. It's about each and every student being able to showcase their competence. It's about the team, about the collectivity. Nothing more and nothing less than being part of a complex system. So let's see how a complex system looks like. What an amazing sound. So you can play the piano independently, you can play the violin on your own, but you can never produce the collective sound that comes out of a team, that comes out of an orchestra. So, dear guests and students, contemporary education is not about learning by heart. It's about thinking. It's about brainstorming, formulating, and implementing. At Unicaf, we offer to students the ability to communicate, to interact, to network, negotiate, bargain, co-produce, lead, manage, and establish long-term relationships. We aim at helping students improve their skills, understand complex new opportunities and challenges, and strike long-standing professional and personal readiness, which aims, of course, in turn, at improving their careers. We'll keep researching and implanting new tools and strategies in our learning offering, and we'll do that by staying on top of things at all times. Think about the changes that took part, or just as recent as the last 2 years in our life, changes in terms of social, economic, legal, technological forces. Today, 4-year-old children play with tablets. They know everything about tablets, they know them inside out. And as soon as they go to school at the age of 6, they ask themselves, where is my tablet? But instead of a tablet, they get a rubber. And if they're lucky, they may get a pencil as well. Okay. So, our students have changed radically the last 10 years. The problem is that education didn't follow this progress. And this is most possibly because those who develop education are no longer part of education. You're supposed to laugh about that. So think about the 4-year-old boy today, or a girl. She will complete primary school by 2032. She will get a degree by most possibly 2036. By 2040, she'll attain a master's degree. So can you close your eyes and think how education will be by 2040? I think we can cannot imagine, even in our wildest imagination, how education will be by then. That's why we have a discussion panel later on today, which is titled The Future of Education. For now, I'll just conclude by saying that the next chapter of education begins here today. Thanks for listening.
Let me start by saying that the quality higher education which we have today did not exist at all. People sought quality higher education by spending a lot of money for fees, for air tickets, for food and lodging outside Africa, by traveling to America, to UK, and to Europe, because those facilities were never available in Africa. But now, things have changed. We have Unicaf and Unicaf University that has brought that quality higher education from outside Africa into Africa and now on our doorstep. It is affordable because it is at home and because the organization called Unicaf has created a scholarship which reduces the burden which we had before Unicaf was around. Unicaf has brought three things, therefore. The first is that quality higher education. And for us to be able to access it, we have a generous scholarship which Unicaf provides. And thirdly, because Unicaf is mainly online, it provides a tablet which goes together with the quality higher education. We can't beat that. No country can beat that. No university can beat that. It's only Unicaf which is capable of doing that, and I hope you are the witnesses. Education in Africa has been designated here as a tool and has a role to play. But it depends on how you use it. The first stage is to ensure that as many people as possible access quality higher education. And this is done through enrolling as many people as possible. But some can enroll and drop because they don't have fees. Unicaf has taken care of that. Others are illiterate, they are not computer literate. Unicaf has taken care of that. And so once you have these people and they have the necessary skills and knowledge, we expect that they will then be the agents of change. Educated people have influence. All what we are doing here is influence each other. Everyone here has something to contribute. And that contribution must be of quality. It will be easily assimilated. If it is of no quality, people ignore it and they dismiss it. We are going to be agents of change, wherever we are going to be. Either in our families, in our districts, in our universities, and in our countries. So the process of making change to Africa has to be through a quality education which is desirable and which is affordable.
Hello, fellow students, esteemed tutors and guests. My name is Ranganai Talent Mazenkwe, and I'm from Zimbabwe, living in South Africa. I am a highly organized, hard-working single woman and mother to a 3-year-old boy. As the first female offspring in my family of 5, I learned to love structure, rules, and self-discipline, as I had a parenting role caring for my younger siblings when our parents were working. I am strong-willed, but find it difficult to make personal decisions, usually relying on the opinions of people close to me. I'm also eager to learn and absorb knowledge like a sponge. I want to learn from the best in the business, and I am ambitious too. I consider myself a born leader, able to focus and achieve targets against all odds. I'm confident, love attention and recognition, which some may misinterpret as being pompous. I possess high emotional intelligence, which assists in my leadership role. I feel my leadership potential has not been fully realized, hence the need to constantly develop as a leader through study and participation in leadership development seminars. When I was looking for an MBA program, I initially became disappointed, as local programs were costly and full-time study was not an option for me. As a single mother, I had to continue working and earning while I studied to enable me to pay for my tuition fees and at the same time provide for my son and my extended family back home in Zimbabwe. And then I came across the Unicaf scholarship program. It was doable, but required organization, discipline, and a lot of strength. I was willing to give it my best shot. It has not been an easy journey, but it was worth every minute. I chose to pursue the MBA degree because I always wanted to be a highly enlightened and educated woman to prove to the patriarchal society I come from that women are important to society. This is a dream come true. I was unhappy in my job. It was no longer challenging, and I needed to climb the corporate ladder, aiming to head the digital strategy department of our branch. But this required lots of skills and expertise, which I could only attain through a master's degree. I needed to boost my finances. This kind of degree opens career doors that lead to an increase in income, ensuring that myself, my little boy, and my family are well cared for. I have always wanted to go back home one day and make intelligent decisions, choices, and contributions to my community and my country at large. To teach young, dejected Black women that the limit extends beyond the sky if we focus on our set goals and believe in ourselves. I worked as a digital campaign manager for 2 years and have since been promoted to digital strategist for an advertising agency. In my portfolio of clients, I have the largest supermarket in South Africa and the local government of the city I live in. These kinds of clients demand high-level thinking on a daily basis, and Unica has really given me the tools to shine. Because the digital world is continuously evolving, I have a daily strategic view of industry changes, of the risks associated with these changes, and create a plan to tackle them. Working in a team of 4, I have learned to work together with my colleagues, ensuring that everyone knows and feels that their input is valued, from assistants to employees and top management. I have become confident and enthusiastic about sharing my knowledge and expertise with new employees. I spearheaded a 2-week refresher course training clinic on digital marketing when I realized a gap of knowledge in our agency where traditional media personnel were not familiar with the digital world. The South African government introduced a Black business empowerment policy in order to ensure equality within the workplace as a reaction to the dominant culture of giving most senior positions to white people, even if they were underqualified. In South Africa, irrespective of gender, white and Asian Indian population dominate skilled occupations. Black women are more vulnerable in the labor market with larger shares in low-skilled occupations. 42.2% of Black women versus 1.2% of white women and 3.2% of Indian Asian women are in low-skilled occupations. Unicaf has empowered me and made me bold enough to stand up against these statistics and break barriers that said the digital sphere is a man's world. Unicaf gave me the needed expertise to take up a senior position and excel in it. The organization I work for had a culture that working long hours means the job is getting done. I can now evaluate our business activities and processes to find ways to improve productivity and efficiency, thereby reducing our costs. The money we save by implementing these changes can be invested into other units or activities. The MBA program has taught me to work smart, not hard. I believe that we are as effective as our tools. If we have slow technology, synonymous to developing countries, slow software and hardware, and an intensive paper trail, it is challenging to attract and keep young talent like myself. I now understand that a company's reward system motivates employees to work effectively and efficiently. Unicaf has helped me achieve a part of my dreams and has equipped me with lifelong leadership skills with which I can help the community I live in. So I have taken it upon myself to promote the Unicaf scholarship program to disadvantaged students, especially girls and single mothers who seek to advance their education for a better life but lack the finances to pay tuition fees. I like to pass on to people working with me the knowledge and skills I have acquired studying through Unicaf, thus helping them advance in their careers. I have also been able to help increase awareness in small informal businesses in my community of the advantages of digital marketing, helping small businesses grow and ensuring maximization of their profits. And this is only the beginning. The limit extends beyond the sky. Thank you, Unicaf, for everything you have given me. Thank you, and thank you, Unicaf.
My name is Anthony Awosa. Come from Nigeria. I'm married with 4 children. I'm an MSc Business Psychology student with the University of South Wales through Unicaf. I could easily have missed this very rare opportunity to address this beautiful, august gathering, a wonderful audience, because of my age. When I first read the email notifying us about including student presentations in the proceedings of the Unicaf London Conference 2017, I had no desire to partake because I believe that at 51 years of age, I'm not a conventional postgraduate student. Having graduated from university after earning my first degree 26 years ago, I feel I'm a late bloomer in doing a second degree at this age, and I shouldn't be loud about it. However, something inside me says you should not be shy about being a mature student. You should rather see this as a worthwhile accomplishment to be able to generate sufficient self-motivation at this age to embark upon a postgraduate program and realize a dream you have been nurturing for decades. Besides, it would be ungracious of me not to express my praise and gratitude to my generous and benevolent sponsor, Unicaf. So I decided to follow this voice inside me and send in my presentation. And here I am. In the culture of Nigeria, I come from the southeastern part of my country. There are a few usual pastimes most people, my age especially, tend to do in the evenings after work. 1, go to pubs or recreation clubs, not necessarily to play games or exercises, but mainly to share stories, gossips, and bottles of alcohol. 2, they could hang out and have a good time with mistresses or girlfriends. 3, they could also visit friends, neighbors, or relations, while a few can go to churches, masses in the evenings and services. Much as all these may be quite pleasurable and desirable pursuits, they do not, in practical terms, add real value to personal growth and development. These costly ventures actually deplete resources, may cause ill health, and may put you in a compromising situation if you act irresponsibly. And yet, I too could have been indulging in 1 or 2 of those activities. if I were not busy studying for the online MSc Business Psychology program offered by the University of South Wales through Unicaf. And this decision to pursue a postgraduate degree has now brought me to London for the first time in my life to meet all of you and deliver this presentation, all thanks to Unicaf. Rather than indulging in the habit of daily beer consumption or other unproductive activity, I am now obligated to devote 2 or 3 hours after work to read or do my weekly tasks in order to complete the program successfully. I'm enjoying studying for my master's degree so much that I am now considering pursuing a doctorate degree after this. My ultimate goal is to secure a university lecturing appointment, thereby realizing my lifelong dream of working in the academia and helping to impart valuable knowledge and expertise to younger generation and to society as a whole. As a teenager, I had originally planned to become a lawyer or university professor, probably because I felt I had a flair for inquiry and research. By the time I was to take the university admission examination, my life took some bad twists and turns. I lost my father. My mother, now a widow, could only afford paying for my education at a National Certificate of Education NCE Award tertiary institution, where I got admission in 1985 to be trained as a teacher. Though I had wished to further my studies immediately after graduation, aiming to obtain the prerequisite postgraduate degree that would secure me a university job, I could not, because I had to work to earn money for my family. I was the eldest of 8 children, and my mother had to rely on my salary for the survival of the family and for the schooling of my siblings. With my basic secondary teacher certificate, I could not get any of the scarce vacancy offers. However, I started as a supervisor in a stockbroking firm and have worked so far in 5 different organizations and industries, all private firms. Within this period, the desire to go back to lecturing in a university has persevered. So much so, in fact, that at different times, I enrolled into 3 different postgraduate degree programs, but had to abandon them all at various stages, either due to work and family pressure, financial constraints, or combination of both. Then one morning in February 2016, my dream was rekindled. I was checking my emails and suddenly this online MBA advert popped up. I clicked on it. What I saw and read instantly caught my attention. An advertorial which revealed a life-changing opportunity to apply for a Unicaf scholarship. I had never heard of Unicaf then, but I decided to apply there and then and see how it went. I was very surprised to hear that not only could I earn a scholarship, I could also earn an MBA degree from a British university, the University of South Wales. Unicaf made my dream a reality by offering me a generous scholarship, which made tuition fees affordable. Even the small amount of tuition fees that had to be paid was conveniently structured into a payment plan of monthly installments throughout the duration of the program. And it was feasible and motivating for any focused and hardworking candidate with my kind of goal. On a lighter note, but serious note, of course, if I had not taken this wonderful opportunity provided by Unicaf, even this modest amount that I have contributed would have gradually gone into any of those non-productive pastimes I earlier mentioned. And my gains would have been possibly high cholesterol, diabetes, or other health issues. It is also important to me that the degree certificate that my Unicaf-sponsored academic program will lead to is 100% similar and equivalent to the degree certificate obtainable by on-campus students attending universities in the United Kingdom. I can even graduate on campus with my fellow on-grant students by participating in the graduation ceremony of my university. With this tremendous offer, Unicaf has placed the responsibility of my success in my own hands, at the same time providing me with a flexible, affordable, and stable education plan, which I couldn't have gotten in my own country. I do not have to worry about instability in my country's university system, with frequent protests and strikes interrupting tuition. At age 51, and while in full-time employment, I have found the ideal way to advance my education without having to attend strictly but irregularly scheduled classes in overcrowded lecture halls at preset hours in the morning, afternoon, and evenings. However, even though Unicaf and its partner institutions have designed an academic program offered in a most convenient and comfortable and affordable way, studying online for a quality internationally recognized degree still requires the same commitment and hard work as studying on campus. There are regular assignments to do, almost daily handouts to be read, and weekly tasks to be completed, which a student can ignore if they want to succeed if they don't want to succeed in earning their degree. Students who enroll thinking that online education will be a piece of cake that requires no hard work very soon drop out of the course, and some of my cohorts have already done that. The Unicaf scholarship I have received has not only rekindled my lifelong ambition, it has offered me a unique opportunity to obtain a master's by studying at my most convenient time and place, even while traveling to work and back, and most importantly, to continue with my duties, working full-time and taking care of my family. I am immensely grateful to Unicaf for this generosity and meaningful support I have received, which has strengthened my motivation to continue with education and nurture my biggest dreams in life to reach for the stars. How else could I have come by this unique opportunity to mingle and interact with so many respected professors and high-achieving students from different countries, backgrounds, and disciplines, and to do all this in the faraway land of dreams, the United Kingdom? Now I can allow myself to dream of becoming a professor one day, even at age 65. By the way, I'm already addressing professors, so who says I can't be one? Finally, before I step down, permit me to put to you a practical suggestion that I feel will benefit tremendously online students, namely the introduction of working groups of 2 or 3 persons to undertake specific tasks or assignments running for a few weeks that will involve students from different countries. This will facilitate and encourage increased and better interaction and cooperation among fellow students from different countries, backgrounds, and cultures. And it could even lead to long-lasting friendships and working relationships as well. I want to use this opportunity to once again thank Unicaf for this wonderful opportunity and the organizers of the program for choosing me as one of the students to make this presentation. Thank you very much.
So my name is Lobasi Julian. I'm from Uganda in East Africa. I'm an MBA student who is enjoying the flexibility and global perspective of an MBA from University of Nicosia, delivered online through Unicaf. I'm also a mother of 2. I'm a businesswoman, a small-scale businesswoman, and I'm also an associate member of Chartered Institute of Purchases and Supply in UK, and I had also previously worked as a secondary school teacher of economics in my country. So I thank Unicaf very much for giving me this opportunity. First of all, to be able to come to London for my first time, and also to be able to speak for my first time in a conference like this one. I'm also looking forward for the London tour tomorrow, and I would like to explore as much of this cosmopolitan city, so that before I travel back to East Africa, I'll have a story to tell to my 2 young children. One is just 6 and another one is 3. So I will be able to tell them so many things, so many places that I visited in this place. And I'm also going to be a celebrity at home when I go back. So in 2015, I was searching for a scholarship to do an MBA. So Unicaf has given me the opportunity to pursue a globally competitive MBA through the Unicaf scholarship, because now it is affordable, I'm able to study. And then they also have a flexible approach of taking one module at a time, meaning that you can concentrate all your energy on the module and be able to pass well as compared to if you were doing many modules. And then it's also flexible because it fits in your schedule. You can read at any time. And it is also easy to reschedule because it is online delivery. I'm able to study at any time, anywhere. Classroom environment maintained. The classroom environment is maintained through interactive online teaching, through interactive discussion forums, where we have discussion forums on virtual learning environment with our teachers, our tutors, our fellow students. And the classroom environment is also maintained through exam deadlines. There are deadlines just like in any university, and you need to be focused and disciplined to do the work properly. So like I told you, I wanted to study, but I could not afford the tuition cost for a good quality MBA. And also I did not have the time to study. I did not have the time to study or to attend full-time education on campus. I thank Unicaf because now I'm able to study. I've been able to complete the foundational courses and 3 MBA modules since I was admitted to the program. Right now I feel empowered, I feel competitive, I feel confident, and I feel comfortable being able to study and at the same time take care of my children, my family, my business. This is very liberating, knowing that I can do all these things at the same time, which would not have happened if I was studying in the campus, if it wasn't for the online opportunity given by Unicaf. So I'm here to thank Unicaf for many reasons, and one of the reasons is that Unicaf has empowered me with the knowledge to improve business practices. The modules I've been able to finish have helped me to improve in the way I manage and plan for the small family businesses. One, by improving the human resource practices. I do have some temporary staff, and the human resource course that I did taught me how to manage the temporary staff, how to motivate them. Before I used to think motivation is a one-size-fits-it-all. So now I have different methods of motivating them. Like, for example, there are those I know they are motivated when given a free day. There are those who are motivated if I give them flexible time, that they don't have to come from maybe morning up to evening. And then there are those ones also who need health care. So I've used the knowledge that I've studied to do that. And nowadays, there is improvement in the retention. I've been able to retain my employees. Then I'm also writing a funding proposal for a forestry project to enable to expand our land to 50 acreage of pine trees. So far we've done 20 acres, and this funding proposal will help me to be able to manage to plant the 50 acres of the pine trees that we have. And this is all thanks to Unicaf, which empowered me to have knowledge to begin knowing that you have to have a business proposal, you have to have strategic planning, you have to do this, which I didn't have before. Then I would like to also thank Unicaf for inspiring me to find ways of helping my community and my country. This has happened by planning how to deal with government officials to improve labor legislations. During the research for an assignment involving the study of labor laws in our country, I discovered various areas of concern that needed to be addressed and changed. So right now I'm developing the research work and documenting these concerns for discussion with the Ministry of Labor officials, and this will in effort help to improve the current practices in our country concerning the labor laws. Then I also discovered that we, as Ugandans, were lagging behind regarding the training of domestic workers. I believe that it is very important and very crucial, very imperative to fight to end poverty, because poverty can cause early deaths. It can also deny people the opportunity to live a long and happy life. It can hinder people from realizing their full potential. If there are early death caused due to poverty, then this can deny us from great inventors, great artists, great leaders. Hence the need for us to fight poverty. And I know that poverty can be fought through education. Education will not only enable the fight against poverty, but it is also a means to end poverty. So the Unicaf scholarship is enabling me to receive the quality education which I would not have afforded. It is empowering me to create opportunities for others, especially the young people in my community. And it is also empowering me to fight poverty. So I thank all of you once again for this great opportunity. And as I stand in front of you, I publicly commit and promise to use the knowledge acquired through studying for the MBA to improve myself, to improve the lives of my family, to develop my business, to help my community, and to fight the end of poverty. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back after our delicious lunch. Thank you once again for being here. This morning we have exposed ourselves to a wide range of thoughts and perspectives about education, about the past, and present and future of Unicaf, and the role that Unicaf plays in the future of education. But of course, change comes from both internal and external forces. So right now we will make an attempt to discuss, speculate about the future of education, and without further ado, let me refer to Unicaf's Director of Academic Affairs, Dr. Vasiliadis, and ask him to discuss some of the latest education ideas and how they are applied and utilized by Unicaf.
Thank you very much, Leonida, for giving me this opportunity. And again, thank you all for coming to this conference. Now, you are all current Unicaf students, so you have all experienced our VLE. Indeed, we have a lot of seamless integration of a lot of different technologies, but all of these are based on educational models. And during the discussions today that we have me, Leonidas, Dr. Andrews, we have had with many of you, we have talked about some of these models and how they are applied. So let's give a small brief overview before I respond to our approach. We are offering through asynchronous supported open learning of our delivery model. So how do we incorporate the ideas? We also have, we try to concentrate all of the learning resources within the VLE. So instead of concentrating, and also we are using different approaches like the flipped classroom example, where all the material is laid out inside our VLE. Everything is there, it's very user-centered, and then we have the tutor to facilitate and guide the students through the material. And also we try to concentrate all of our resources within the VLE, and this is also part of our approach. Now, there's also other ideas that we are trying to implement to get beyond the traditional, the more online approach, and this is through our blended learning. Now, this we are trying to, we are rolling out to our learning centers, which we are constantly trying to establish. Over there, we will have a variety of indirect instruction by tutors. So what will happen is, we're already implementing this, we will have the main online tutor who will be responsible. And then we also have in our locations the local tutor, and he will sit there and he will give extra guidance to the students. So this is one approach we're taking.
Okay, so here we have a transition, if you want, from traditional face-to-face learning to online, and then blended learning come across, which is more or less a combination. Let me turn to Professor Smedley. Joe, based on your long academic experience so far, what do you think is better, online or on-campus learning?
It's a tricky one.
I think anybody who's studying has their own particular favourite. And I think one of the things that we need to step aside from is any sense of competition. Because after all, it's about student experience. We need to offer opportunities for students to be able to study online where it's possible, but also offer them the part-time and full-time opportunities if that is equally possible as well. We need to be thinking about equivalence. Equivalence is really crucial, because we have one course, as in the case of the University of South Wales, we may have one course that's validated, and we can validate it in several modes. And we need to make sure that the student experience for those students is equivalent, irrespective of whatever mode is taken. Because we need to think about why students are studying in the first place. And a lot of the students in the room here, you're all working. You know very clearly why you want to better yourselves, and why you want to get on and achieve. And we need to make that possible for you in the best way that we can. And we need to be very mindful of the situations that you're finding yourselves in. And so equivalence is a really important word. So your question is, which one's better? I think I'm probably going to not duck the question, but say, actually, as a mathematician in my background, I would say I'm looking for the equal sign. Because, you know, the soft equal sign, which actually makes it, we need to make it possible, and we need to make it as good as each other, so it shouldn't matter which mode that you study. Certainly at the university, we see you as our students. You're not differentiated in any way because you're an online student or an on-campus student, you're our students. And the Unicaf partnership enables us to widen our reach globally to make it more possible to have more students, which we fully welcome, because actually the online nature then enriches the on-campus experience and vice versa.
Okay, now that I start digesting my food after the lunch, I already feel better. And let me increase the level of difficulty. How can we insert experiential learning in online learning? In other words, how does online learning takes into account the professional experience of students?
You go.
Yeah.
Well, some of these student accounts that we listened to this morning were really powerful. In fact, I was sitting at my table thinking, oh, we could bottle this. This would be really great. I want to take this back to campus and I want to tell my colleagues on campus about this. It was really powerful. And I think some of the experience that you people have, you're all working and you're all working in your different environments. And we need to design particularly assessment that allows you to display that sort of experiential learning and experiences so you can fully relate your practical expertise to theory and vice versa. That's good to go back to pick up the equivalence question again. It has enormous benefits because a lot of our students on campus are working as well. Different contexts and different environments and different reasons for learning, but we need to make sure that our assessments can fully allow students and learners to display their techniques and their experiences. So in that sense, we need to be creative with our learning and teaching to allow the students to fully display their know-how.
Thank you, Jo. Another very big and always central issue is the issue of quality. Quality in education, quality in learning. So we are referring to the future of education all the time, referring to the progress in terms of technology, political support, etc. But how does quality is assured and enhanced when it comes to online learning? So I'll refer to the Director of Quality Assurance, Lara. Can you please tell us how quality assurance is maintained when it comes to online learning?
Thank you, Leo. As we heard this morning speeches, education is a tool for personal development. So therefore quality is also essential for education purposes. And through quality assurance, we ensure that the standard of education is at high level so that students and any person who's learning can actually develop as a self. Our procedures internally, externally are established through QAAs, so they're procedures and policies, and we align them through our internal processes. So we have different stages, procedures for each department that needs to follow. And this is how we basically go through enhancement. So as education is evolved, so does quality assurance evolves throughout the process.
And can you foresee any changes in terms of quality assurance and enhancement in the future?
Well, as we're dealing with online education, quality needs to be enhanced through online education. So we have tools that are applicable for online, which are similar towards the ground facilities.
Thank you. So, Jonathan, I will take a risk and ask you to see into the future, not necessarily speculate, but based on your experience and what you read and the way you work and the context you appear to be, can you please try and tell us what you think will be central in education in the next 10 years, especially in the region of Africa?
Right, for higher education in Africa, we've just heard from colleagues how distance learning is very effective, how satisfying it is for students, and indeed I'd also add, when you're interacting with people who are working, how satisfying it is for the staff who are able to interact with professionals who are working in their field. I think that this general theme of mixed mode distance learning is going to be particularly important in Africa. And the reason for this is the limited financial resources available to African governments and indeed to to African students. Just in thinking about this, I leafed through this morning a World Bank report, recent World Bank report on African higher education, and it made a number of points. The first is that the 23 poorest African countries spend a higher proportion of their budgets on higher education rather than primary education than the better off African countries. And these are countries that have primary school enrollments varying between 30 and 65%. So what this is essentially saying is that in the poorest African countries, we have a really difficult higher education funding challenge, because the primary challenge, I think we would all agree, is to get everybody through primary education, and that has not been achieved in quite a number of countries. And where that has not been achieved, you have to look hard for cost-effective ways of delivering quality higher education. And distance learning, mixed mode, is very important in that respect. A second thing that's very encouraging in the African context is the rapid spread of technology, and particularly of 3G and now 4G. CDC, it was mentioned that I was a director for a number of years of CDC. CDC was right in at the beginning of this with our financial backing for CellTel. And I can tell you that at the time we were debating this, more than 10 years ago, there was a great deal of cynicism about whether this kind of technology would move fast in Africa, and the cynics have proved completely wrong. I find, for example, when I'm in Malawi, that I can get pretty good mobile signal almost everywhere. I live in rural Kent, in 60 miles away from where we're speaking now, and I usually have to go out into my garden to get some kind of mobile signal. So the speed of technological development in Africa, I think, is very favourable. And I'd make just one other point, which is perhaps the reason why I'm so glad that CDC is involved in providing resources for the development of Unicaf, which is to come back to that first point about the very limited resources available to governments to develop universities. Private capital has to come in, and private capital not only provides more resources, it provides the basis for more competition, it provides, I think, also strong links to technology suppliers and industry. So that's what I'd say at this stage, and look forward to any further discussion of these points.
Yeah, and I remember about a year ago when I was in Malawi, I think the students in public universities were on some kind of strike. They were distancing themselves from school because of the increase of fees and everything. Yeah, I'll come back to you in a bit. Just let me ask Vasquez again about how Unicaf integrates learning resources on its VLE, and what changes do you expect Unicaf to implement in the future?
Thank you for another challenging question, Leo. Well, actually, this builds on my previous comment where I started talking about how we're integrating various technologies. So I think leading into it, before I said about integration, now this is one very important step. In our VLE, which is essentially an online platform. Now this is a tool. Tools are very important because from the time, I believe you said before in your speech, the time of Socrates, probably we would have a picture from then and from now. The classroom would very much be the same. Probably the layout would change, the clothes would change, maybe some of the characters, but it would still be a very traditional model of having a tutor sit there and deliver something face-to-face in front of the students, which we have departed away from. And as we move, we develop more educational tools, and we have the blackboard. After that, we have projectors, etc. But it was still this model. But now we have a tool, a platform digital, where you can place anything you want in there, and this can be accessible 24/7 to everybody. But again, how you go in, you log in, and you interact with the tool is can be very carefully structured and managed. And this is done through instructional design. And instructional design is one thing, but integration is yet another. This is the process where you make everything available to the student, and you make it, and the way you lay it out, and you give it to the student is through instructional design. So they are very interrelated. So for instance, all of you, you're students, you have submitted assignments for VLE, and you have seen originally this course come back, you have accessed ebooks from our VLE platform, and so you have access to library resources, electronic library to the VLE. And all of this is done by the click of one button. This is integration. It's actually, we have gone through from our beginning a stage where all of these things had to be very carefully designed and implemented so that you can come to a point where you just click and everything works. And this is very important because it takes away the need from the learner to get to the material. Before that, we might say somebody might bicycle or somebody might walk to a classroom. So this is the digital equivalent. We make everything accessible through the click of a button. So all the learner has to do is learn, absorb material. Now, how can we do this for the future? Well, again, if I come back to the original point, it's very difficult to imagine where we will be for now. Actually, I'll go slightly off topic, and I will think something I was looking at when I was researching, for this panel to prepare for the future of education. I saw these shows, these futuristic shows from how people imagine back in the 50s or 60s the world of today would be. And what you will see is they imagine futuristic gadgets and everything, but they imagine one gadget per use for something that would have been a more evolved form of something that was already in front of them. So they would have one very fancy phone, they would have one very fancy organizer, they would have one very fancy gadget for doing their banking. But now, of course, today we don't need to, because I can pull something out of my pocket. I can pull this out of my pocket and I can do all of these, like this. In fact, I can access the VLE from my pocket. We tested it out in Malawi. When we went there, we got some pretty good connectivity. And I can do all of this because it was designed, engineered, because the material is very user-centered. And it's not just that it's easy to read, it's that it's easy to present and it's easy to absorb.
Thank you. So, Kevin, what do you mean by speeding up education? I heard you talking this morning about the term that sounds a bit awkward. Speeding up education, what is it?
Casting my mind back, I was talking about the paradigm shift in communication. I don't remember mentioning speed, either distance travelled and velocity or the drug.
What about the wire in the Atlantic Ocean?
Speeding up education. So, to rephrase the question, are you asking me if the paradigm shift in communication and some of the tools that Vasius just mentioned is speeding up education in some way?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that, okay. Yes, I think technology is speeding up education, and this is a topical issue at the moment in many sectors, including the UK higher education sector, as I understand it. I have to delve back into my past a little bit to explain that I used to be an academic in the UK, and then I moved to Cyprus. So I maybe some of my other colleagues around the table will sort of say, yes, that is happening, or no, it isn't. But my understanding is that the use of technology is allowing students greater access to more materials far more quickly than would have been available in the past. And that has led to the idea of asking institutionally whether it really does take 3 years to do a degree. I remember when I was a student, many years ago, there weren't computers, but I didn't have a computer, I couldn't afford a computer, and there was no such thing as a tablet or a mobile phone through which you could look at material. So we had to go to the library. I went to Sheffield University, and they had this tremendous library there that was in the bowels of the earth under the Arts Tower, and it was called the Stacks. And in the stacks they had books, you know, printed materials, and you couldn't look up on a computer to see what was there. There was a thing called microfiche, and you had this sort of blue thing that you had to pour through, and then you had to walk down the stacks, and you had to find the gap in the shelf where your competitor had removed the material and was reading it in the corner. So you had to wait. So you'd go and grab a coffee and think, no, I really need to read that first before I read this. And so education would take a long time. You had to read for your degree, and it would take a long time. It would take around about 3 years to get through all the materials. We're still doing that. We've still got 3-year degrees, and should we really have them in an era where you can do a quick Google search, press a button and have it there, and then do word searching. You can do word searching now, can't you? Find. I remember looking at great big, huge volumes, and you needed to read a specific thing. You couldn't just do a quick find. You had to read the whole thing. You know, you were reading.
Can I come in on that? Yeah. Because one of the points you raised there was, we have a lot of students, say undergraduate students, still thinking about 3-year degrees. But you think about the student population, it's moved on a lot since then. Certainly in the UK, we've got a lot of student debt now. And increasingly, people are saying, what am I doing this for? How important is it? Not just in the UK, but also internationally as well. And I think it's important that we think about the actual curriculum that we're designing. And it's not just about technology, it's about, in what mode are we designing the curriculum? How appropriate is it? And in what order are we allowing students to study modules? One of the students this morning referred to the fact that she'd been successful because she'd been able to do a module at a time, and she was able to be focused, and then she could have a pause. And we really need to be thinking about this earning and learning concept. So it's not just about the technology, it's not just about the curriculum, it's to bring in Lara's point, it's about the quality assurance as well, and the enhancement, and making sure the whole package is flexible. One of my colleagues sitting over there, Becky, she's doing some sterling work for us back at the university, and actually making sure the information can flow as quickly as possible. It's all elements of the student journey that have to really knit together to really make it go at a pace. I think pace is really important. It's nice to see technology. We think, we'll bring that kit in, we'll bring this kit in. As Vassis was saying, but it's got to all join together for students to really see the whole product and the quality of the product.
I think that's another issue related to this, is that if you talk about pace and acceleration and say, okay, students would be interested in not studying for 3 years, but maybe studying through 2 summers as well, and doing 3 years worth of work in 2 years, then I think there's a suspicion that, it's not good quality then because you're rushing through it. You're not really rushing through it, you're just working a bit harder and working more sensibly.
It goes back to the student motivation. The students need the enrichment through a qualification to actually enhance their performance at work. They're motivated, and they will do it. Who are we as academics to say, well, no, you've got to learn just between 9 and 12, and then you've got to come back in a week's time and just learn between 9 and 12? Because those people might be working between 9 and 12, and so they suddenly can't access the... it's changing mindsets, and we all know how difficult sometimes culture is to change.